Conservative Party has announced they will be postponing their spring policy convention to work out the details of their upcoming leadership race. The convention was originally planned for April and will now take place in November. The Tories say they need to focus on finding a new leader following Andrew Scheer's resignation. It's not yet clear when the leadership election will take place. Let's now bring in Stewart Prest. He's a political science instructor at Simon Fraser University. Hello, Stewart. Thanks for joining us on CTV News Channel. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, actually.
So, Stewart, the Conservatives, the meeting is now postponed for November, as we know, 7 months later as scheduled in April. What do you think is going on in the Conservatives camp right now?
Well, we're left to speculate a little bit here, but we know that there's a certain amount of turmoil behind the scenes with the dismissal of the party's executive director by the Conservative Fund, and then some arguing over whether they actually have the ability to do that. It seems like the Conservatives are trying to get themselves organized and figure out how to move forward from this moment of upset within the party, and are giving themselves a little more time to do so. And we have yet to find out just how much time that's going to be.
Is it also because there are too many people in the race right now? The party is also, in a way, very divided on how to handle the entire issue, because some continue to say that maybe Andrew Scheer stepping down so early was not the right approach in the party. We saw many voices coming in. Could the confusion also be a factor for this delay?
Absolutely. I think we're seeing some starkly different visions for the party, both in terms of policy, in terms of process, and in terms of the sort of messaging that they want to present to the country. And so they're trying to figure out all of those things at the same time, or at least try to map out a path where they can solve all those problems one after another. And in the midst of transition of leadership, both with the party leadership itself and also behind the scenes, that it's hard to do all those things at the same time. So I'm not surprised that they're going to try to take a little more time to iron out all of these problems.
You know, we have a board here that talks about how many people are in the running right now. Close to 9 people's names that are being discussed at the moment. The possibilities of who could be the contenders where the leadership is concerned. Just to name a few, we of course have Peter MacKay, Rona Ambrose, James Moore, Erin O'Toole, as we can see right now on our screens. Stewart, what's your understanding? What is that quality that will differentiate between Andrew Scheer and the next leader the Conservatives really need?
Well, parties do have a tendency to really compensate for whatever are seen as the deficiencies of the previous leader with the next leader. And so I think one of the things that a lot of Conservatives are looking for is somebody who can really rise above, who can sparkle, someone who can rival Trudeau's ability to draw attention. And that was something that Andrew Scheer sometimes lacked the ability to do. He was seen as sort of milquetoast beside Mr. Trudeau. So they may be looking for someone who has that kind of electability. That's a term we might hear. Someone who can resonate with voters. But at the same time, the Conservatives have a series of different serious policy issues to figure out. Are they going to change direction on energy, on environment, and so on? So they're going to have to deal with both those questions simultaneously.
And this delay that I was speaking to you of a couple of minutes ago, from April to November, don't you think that will actually work as an advantage for the Liberals if they were to call for an early election? Wouldn't it help the Liberals more?
It certainly gives a period of vulnerability to the Conservatives, where I think the Liberals are content to stay in power. They have as minorities go, this is a fairly comfortable one. So I don't know the Liberals are in a hurry to head back to the ballot box, but it certainly makes the Conservatives unable to respond, to turn on a dime. It should an opportunity arise, they may not be able to capitalize on it. So I think that makes the Liberals a little more comfortable here. But at the same time, the Conservatives, they want to be able to get this right. There's a reasonable chance that whoever wins this race could be the next Prime Minister of Canada. So they're going to want to not rush into a choice. And I think the April date was making some people feel a little nervous that they might just pick whoever's close to hand rather than pick the best candidate for the job.
And briefly, Stewart, what do you think of Prime Minister's now approach of keeping a lower profile, more business-like approach to dealing with things?
Well, again, it's a reaction in that same sort of way, reaction to what was seen as going wrong in the previous parliament, where you had Mr. Trudeau was in front of the cameras constantly, and it seems like he himself is trying to take a different direction. So he will keep a lower profile, will have less of that sort of visual communication where it's constantly images of the Prime Minister in costume or not at the forefront, and allowing the sort of the everyday business of politics to take a little more attention and to have someone, some other folks draw attention to themselves and to carry the torch for the party. I think that's a real strategic move by the party trying to respond to what went wrong in the last election.
Okay, we'll have to wind it up with that. Stewart Prest, political science instructor at Simon Fraser University. Thank you for your time, Stewart.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thank you, Akshay.